Leaders Network, launched under the leadership of the chairperson of the African Union Commission and the UN Deputy Secretary General, with the support of your office and of UN Women, envisions a prosperous and peaceful Africa, in which women's role and leadership is enhanced. Please tell us more about the vision and objectives of the African Women Leaders Network.
Thank you for this, reminding us that the African Union and the United Nations has a common agenda. You take the two, Agenda 2053 from Africa and Agenda 2030, which is the Sustainable Development Goal. And both have women and the youth at the center of the development of the world, but also in particular Africa. So I think from those two frameworks, the African Women Leaders Network was born 2 years ago here to look into Africa transformation. We say Africa cannot transform if the women are not at the center, together with the young women and the young boys of the continent. They will lead, and that's about transformation. That's the vision. And we had made two good forum, which was designing our call for Africa transformation here in New York, but also in Addis Ababa, bringing women from private sector, women parliamentarian in politics, but also women that are in civil society and women in government. So I think that is a mobilization of women to say we are going to be the force that are watching but also being part, because we say nobody will be left behind. So that is what about Aulin is. And Aulin have flagship program that you know, big flagship program, which are about financing, which is about political participation, which is about peace and security, and also making sure that the young people and women in rural areas are with us in this transformation. That's what Aulin is about.
Thank you very much, Dr. Envoy. You have dedicated your whole life to ensure women's rights and participation in peace, security, and development processes. So why and how is the new UN-AU partnership relevant for this cause? You have just given us a bit of the background on the Aulin. Maybe could you, Excellency, extend a bit more on how this partnership through the frameworks can lead the AU and the UN forward on this partnership?
Yeah. I think it's Secretary General Guterres and Musa Faki Mohammed, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, both have, at the leadership level, have really worked together to say that we need to build stronger partnership to implement the development agenda, peace, security, but also development. They agree, both of them, the AU have the parity principle, and now UN is putting in place a parity. So we could see that these two organizations have the same goal when it comes to gender equality. Yes, my life has been to combat gender inequality, but also promoting women's rights. But in particular, I focus all my energy on peace and security. I have traveled a lot in the field to understand and to watch from the terrain what is happening, women as victims but also as survivors, but also women that transform. And I think if we talk about Africa Women Leaders Network, is mobilizing for peace and security and stability. I was recently, last year, from the Aulin perspective, with the Deputy SG, with the Executive Director of UN Women, but all UN agencies and the AU to go on the ground and find out what are the basic needs of the women and how we can mobilize our efforts together and to make sure that we have impact on the ground. So it's another way of doing. We are looking bigger because there is nothing small about us. So we look in big initiatives. Either it is infrastructure for women on health, we need that. Either it is on education for our girls, who now we see them that they are in the new technology age, and even beyond the new technology age. Right now they are on so many, education subjects that are higher for us to make sure that we are linked to the young people. So yeah, great. Howlin is about that.
Thank you, Special Envoy. The third question is regarding your office. So your office has just launched the Continental Results Framework on Women, Peace and Security. So how is the framework going to support AU member states to adopt and implement UN Security Council Resolution 1325 when it comes to peace and security processes in Africa?
You know, when we opened our office in Addis Ababa, in the office of the chairperson, we had maybe 15 to 16 countries that engage, and most of them were countries that were in conflict, who really put in place plan of action on women, peace and security. Now we have 23. We are very glad to celebrate that. And again, new generation, second and third generation. So the framework that we put in place is for accountability, because when it comes to implementation, this is where 1325 is, we are lagging behind. We need to implement. We need to have more women mediators, and it's about that. We have create a mechanism which is called FemWise, but also we know that we need to promote the participation of women in our military services, and that is where we also go to our mission like AMISOM and others and see what are the particular needs of women. We promote them to participate, but they have particular needs, and we need to address that. Again, the zero tolerance policy within the military services, especially with the peacekeeping. And also we look into prevention, more in prevention. And this Howlin is about prevention. Howlin is to make sure that women, through the whole process of governance, either it is in political parties, either it is in election, or in government, or private sector as well, that we make sure that women contribute and participate. That's how we're going to prevent the whole violence against women, because you empower women and they become the agent for change that we want to see.
Thank you very much, Special Envoy, for this very vivid answer. So Africa counts 3 member states at the UN Security Council today, known as the A3. They're Guinea Equatorial, Côte d'Ivoire and Ethiopia. So what could those 3 African countries do to enhance the strategic narrative of Africa's leadership when it comes to the women, peace and security agenda, Special Envoy? As you may know, Special Envoy, unfortunately, there's a lack of knowledge on what Africa is leading when it comes to the WPS agenda. So how can those 3 member states of the Security Council can help to change this narrative?
Yes, I was very glad that the last time we came back from the trip chair, Security Council was chaired by Sweden, and Madam Margot Wallström, who accompanied us during our mission in the field in either is a Lake Chad basin, but also in the Sahel. And we came, and Africa made a great contribution in the debate. But it's not sufficient. And I think the Howlin is going now to mobilize more the African state, not just the 3 that are sitting there, but around, I think, Howlin, you have now the friends. The friends, which mean that those who are permanent members of the Security Council, but the Africans that are there as well, and other development countries. So we need to continue to have that dialogue. During this General Assembly this year, I was very happy and proud to see the young people who spearheaded. They were the ones who set the tone here in the House of the Africa. And the intergenerational dialogue we had with them. And second, to see that Howlin members and the friends of Howlin were in the room to have that discussion on how do we move the agenda this agenda of development forward. So it was great to see that members of the Security Council, all of them, including the African, who are leading it, to be with us. And we need to do the same thing in Addis Ababa, but other places as well.
Thank you, Excellency. So, a last word, if you may choose one last word for closing and inspiration.
Yeah, I think we need to do more. We need to innovate. I think that Aulin is about innovations, especially driven by the youth, by the young women. So I'm sure that by next year we will be able to show cases of success stories that women have done, especially the young people, in the field, on peace security, on financing, as well, on political participation. So we will measure progress. We will use our own metrics to measure the what we are doing, the progress, but also showcases of best practices. So I think I always say that, you know, right now we are in a world of turbulence. You know, multilateralism is not working, everybody is talking about it, but for us, this is an opportunity to take ownership and leadership on our destiny, and I think Aulin is about that. So, yes, I have a great hope for Africa.
Thank you, especially. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.